Hello, welcome back. My name is Dawn, and it's that time of the month, the beginning of the month, where it means that it's time to do our monthly wrap-up. These are my books. Where are they? There they are. I read 10 books, and so no time for chit-chat. Let's just get into it. I have done full reviews on either all or most of these books, and so you can find them here on YouTube. All of them actually on YouTube, so you can go through and look to see my full review. I'm not going to give a full review here because otherwise I'll be here all day, and I already did it, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to start with the least best and then the best, or in other words, the worst and then the best. Let's go. The worst book that I read in November was She is a Haunting by, I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name, they're Vietnamese, Trang Thuan Tran. So this book is horror, and it's also LGBTQ+. Our main character is bisexual. This book comes out February 2023. I have, once again, I said I do ARC reviews here on YouTube, and so I will have a full ARC review of She is a Haunting. 30-second overview. Let's see if I can do this in 30 seconds. Our main character, I don't remember her name. That's one of the things. I have horrible memory. I never remember real people's names. There's no way I'm going to remember book character names. But let's just call her Lauren. Lauren is Vietnamese American. She, I believe, was born in America, but her parents are immigrants. Her parents broke up. Her father was like, deuces, I'm going back to Vietnam. And she's pissed because she now has to help take care of the family with her two younger siblings and her mom. Her mom is struggling to just get food on the table, and Lauren wants to go to college. And so in order to go to college, her father was like, hey, if you come to Vietnam and it will work for me over the summer, I will pay for your college. So the whole family goes back to Vietnam, and she goes with her younger sister to stay with her father, who is trying to open up a hotel in Vietnam, and she's going to help put the website together. However, there are ghosts. Haunting ghosts. I DNF'd this book at 70%. Oh my god. This book was promising. I mean, look at all of the people saying riveting, exquisitely disturbing, electric, beguiling, creepy, the best YA horror I've ever read, intoxicating. I can't stop thinking about it. Like, it's just all these people are just like, I mean, how, of course, I'm going to be like, yes, I need to get my hands on this now. So for the first part of the book, it was really good because you have a young girl, she's bisexual, she has fallen out with her best friend. I don't know why, but I'm guessing it's because she made a move on her and her friend was like, no thank you. That's usually how these books go. That's not a spoiler because I didn't get that far. I'm just guessing. So she has to go to Vietnam to work with her father, whom she does not like because he just left the family. But she's like, fine, I need to go to college. I need to get the hell up out of here because my family doesn't understand my sexuality. I need to go to college. I need to go. And so she's like, fine, I'm just going to go. And we get a lot of stuff with her dad, which was great. And she meets another girl who's like the daughter of her father's business partner, and I'm assuming there's going to be romance there. Her name was Flo. I do remember her name because I actually liked Flo. She was really funny. She was the best character in this book. And then she starts to hear some creepy stuff. I mean, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? It's all setting up for fabulousness. And then the dumb part happens. First dumb part is that her father does not believe her when she says the house is haunted. Okay. This girl is 18. She's smart. Perhaps your father doesn't believe you because he's opening up a new business. I'm sorry. I keep getting these like campaign donations for Warnock. I don't live in Georgia. I live in Illinois. Leave me alone. Hope you in Warnock, but leave me alone. Her father is trying to open up a hotel. He's not the wealthiest person in the world. He has investors, white people investors. They're counting on him to open a hotel. Do you really think he wants to hear that his hotel is haunted? No, but she doesn't seem to understand that logic. And so she decides to haunt it herself so that he will believe her. That was stupid. On paper, that sounds cool, but in execution, Then the second problem is that we finally get some ghosts and they're kind of friendly. I'm sorry. I did not sign up for Casper the Friendly Ghost. I signed it up for hauntings and scares and creepy stuff. Not ghosts who try and help you. I'm not looking for helpful, friendly ghosts. So the pacing was a huge problem in this book. Actually, was the biggest problem was the pacing. It's like 315 pages. It's not long at all. But the pacing is not riveting. Horribly disturbing. Not electric. Not beguiling. Not creepy. Not intoxicating. I can't stop thinking about it. I mean, I guess I recommend this book. If you are okay with shitty pacing, go for it. Next. I'm just gonna start putting these here. The next book I don't have, it is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. And this is a Jenna Bush Hager book club selection. Oh, Jenna. I like Jenna Bush Hager, but no. I gave this book a 2. 30-second overview. This is about, I don't know her name. Let's call her Sharon. I don't know. Sharon is poor. And her father has passed away in a tragic accident. And her mother, you know, her mother's just like, don't leave me, I'm lonely. But she's like, no, woman, I got to go. I got to go to my internship at the Met in New York. And she gets there and they're like, sorry, the person you're supposed to work for, he off in England somewhere. So we don't need you. Sorry you came all this way and you're poor. But then somebody else is like, hey, we have an opening. Do you want to come and work for the Cloisters? Which is a museum that deals with divination. Sounds amazing. I thought so too. Then I read it. I guess I didn't really finish the description. So she meets this other girl. She's like tall and blonde and skinny and fabulous and rich. And her name is, let's call her Stacy. I don't know. Stacy has decided to take Sharon under her wing and let's be besties. And I'm going to show you everything. We're going to work together and it's going to be great. And then shenanigans happen. Okay, so the problem with this book is that it's boring as hell. I was promised divination, a creepy museum. I was promised a mystery of some sorts, and I got none of those things. None of those things. Stacy is supposed to be the star of the show because she's hot blonde, she is wealthy, she has car service, she lives in a mansion that has a name. When your house has a name, you are wealthy. However, she's supposed to be this character that has a lot of secrets and is mysterious, and how come she doesn't have any friends, and why is she befriending this lame, lonely, homely girl who's poor and has mousy brown hair? Like, who cares about her? But she wasn't a good character because I've read her before. There was something interesting about this girl. I had her totally figured out by not even midway. It was not a good time. It was just predictable, uninteresting. The love interest was a snooze. I barely got anything about the divination stuff. And if I didn't mention, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting to do this. She's a Haunting is YA, Cloisters is adult. I went into this thinking, oh my God, divination is great. It's interesting. They're talking about tarot and how way back in the day, people used to use tarot and astrology as like a real science. And they live their life based on their sign and everything. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't personally subscribe to astrology, but I find it interesting. I'm always here to learn new things. None of that happened. I say don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. It's not worth your time. Next, Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I gave this a 2. A 2? A 3. I gave it a 3. My friend Ashley and I have a podcast as well, and we podcast Buzzy Books. And I guess this is Buzzy. I didn't choose it. She chose it. And if you want to hear that podcast, I have our podcast here on YouTube, but you can also find our podcast anywhere where you get your podcasts. How many times am I going to say podcasts? This is about, I want to say her name's Chloe. Chloe is a recovering addict, and she needs a job. She needs a job real bad. She needs to get herself cleaned up. She needs to get it together. And her sponsor has found her a gig, a sweet, cushy gig where she's going to be a nanny to a 5-year-old in the posh suburbs. And she's like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. And then she starts to see ghosts. I don't know why I decided to read all this ghost stuff in November, but I did. But of course, she's a crackhead and people don't believe her, and then things happen. Not gonna say it because it's a spoiler. This book, first of all, it has pictures. So if you're listening to it, I would recommend that you grab the book as well. I was gonna say, look at the beautiful pictures. That's not a beautiful picture. There's this 5-year-old and he draws. And so, yeah. But then there are some other, like, it's illustrated. So if you do listen to it, which I listened to it, and I had the book with me, I do recommend having the book with you just so you know what they're talking about. So the pictures were really cool. The idea was solid. We have a girl who is, you know, she's been sober for like 18 months. She's trying to get her life together. She goes to this really fancy neighborhood and is become a nanny to this kid, and weird things happen. All of that sounds great. All of that sounds fabulous. These are new topics that I have not discovered before in fiction. So I was like, yes, let's go. However, I feel like my brows are weird. My issue with this book is that it was predictable. If you watch enough Lifetime movies, you will feel it's predictable too. And I don't watch a lot of Lifetime movies, and I still felt like, well, I feel like I've seen this in a Lifetime movie. And I like Lifetime movies, don't get me wrong. I enjoy a good Lifetime movie. They're great. But this one was a little predictable. I predicted the baddie pretty early on, and I was correct. There's also a lot of tropes, and here's the big trope that I fucking hate, and I need authors to stop it. As I said, oh, homegirl, I think heroin was her drug of choice, and she meets a guy. He's hot, obviously. And one thing that was really weird is that I don't know if this is just insensitive, I don't know. She falls in love with the landscaper, and guess what race he is? Mexican. And then of course there's like a racist neighbor that makes one racist comment, and then they don't bring his race into the story up ever again. I'm not sure what the point of making him Mexican was. I guess for that one racist neighbor who made that one comment. But so the trope is that she meets this great guy and she's lying to him. She's told him that she's a student and she's on the running team, and he's like, oh, mom and dad, look at my new girlfriend, and she's on the running team and she's awesome. But she ain't in college. She ain't on no damn running team. She lying. And you know, end of the book, it's all gonna come out and he's gonna be like, you lied to me, I hate you, and run away. And then she's just gonna be like, oh my God, I should have been told the truth about it, and now I ruined my relationship. Really? We're doing this in 2022? Come on, authors. We can do better than that stupid trope. The only good thing about this book was the racist neighbor. I don't remember her name. It was like Moila, you know, some hippy dippy name, but she was hilarious. And I don't mean she was hilarious because she was a racist. I mean, just other than the racist thing, she was funny. She was interesting. I liked her a lot. She was the best thing about this book. I personally, I guess I recommend it. I mean, I gave it a 3. But if you are kind of into Lifetime movies, I say grab it. Next. Gleanings, Stories from the Arc of the Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I gave this a 4. And I gave this a 4. No. I gave this a 3.75. So this is book 3.5 in the Scythe series. So this is not a prequel. Don't read this first. You will be spoiled. You should read this after you've read the whole series. You should read the whole series because it's fantastic. I highly recommend the Scythe series. But this is stories from Scythes. Some of the Scythes were mentioned in the series, and I think there were a couple that were just like brand new. One Scythe I will mention that is in this book is Marie Curie, Scythe Curie, when she was younger. And so that one was a really cool story. I liked that. I gave this book a 3.75 because, like any compilation book, there are going to be some hits and there are going to be some misses. And for me, there were more misses than hits. I personally prefer the stories of Scythes that I was familiar with from the series. But when it came to a site that I didn't know, I didn't really care. And a lot of the chapters are like 50, 60 plus pages. That's a honker. That's a huge chapter. And I'm just like suffering through this chapter of like, Schusterman, sir, can you get to the point? Because he kind of drones on and on and on. Don't get me wrong, Schusterman is a fantastic writer. He is a beautiful writer, one of the best YA writers out there right now. But he can be a little long-winded, and sometimes I just need him to get to the point. However, if you have read the side series, I do highly recommend it. You will get some backstory and some of your favorite and not so favorite sites. And yeah, read it. It's out now. Gleanings. Next. It probably would have been better if I had them in order. You would think. The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is book 4 in the Truly Devious series. If you like true crime, and even if it's YA that you like, damn it, I forgot to say it again. Okay, so Hidden Pictures is adult fiction, mystery. Gleanings is YA. This is YA. If you like true crime, regardless if it's adult or YA, I think this is a really good series for true crime fiction lovers. I highly recommend the Truly Devious series. If you have not read the Truly Devious series, it is about Stevie Bell. Notice how I remember her name, because I actually like the book. Stevie Bell suffers from anxiety, and I think she might be on the spectrum. I'm not quite sure, but she's also poor. We don't get a lot of poor teens in YA. And she is a true crime podcast aficionado. So much so that she can solve real crimes. And she goes to this fancy school. She got accepted into this really nice, posh, private school where there was a murder that took place decades ago, and she solves it. And so in the subsequent books, she is hired basically to solve crimes in wherever she's at. And in book 4, she's at a day camp. Well, no, it's a sleepaway camp where a crime was committed. 4 teens were murdered in the woods back in 1978. They have never caught the killer, and so they asked Stevie to come for the summer and be a counselor and do some digging. And she does, and she solves the crime. So that's pretty much what that's about. I gave it a 4. Did I say that? No, I did not give it a 4. I gave it a 3.75. I have notes here, so I gave it a 3.75 because here's my issue with this series. Unlike Good Girls Guide to Murder, the murders have teen appeal. I know that sounds bad. Does this murder have teen appeal? Why, yes, it does. But what I mean is that in Good Girls Guide, it's about a pair of teens. They were dating. One is murdered. The other one has found later. It looks like a murder-suicide. It's like, ooh, was she cheating on him? Is that why he killed her? Was somebody doing drugs? You know, it's topics that teens can relate to because they're also dealing with it and that they are interested in. In this series, it's usually not about something that teens care about. Mobsters, art. Like, I'm not going to say what the big baddie is in this one, but it's not appealing to teens. I can tell you that. To an adult, sure. Sure. But to teens, no. I do like the series. I like Stevie. I like the characters. It's not tropey. My only issue with this series is that I like to try and solve the murder along with the main character. I don't like to be an observer. In this series, you're not expected to solve anything. You're just there for the ride. I prefer to try and solve it. And so you're always kind of left with that. She got that conclusion from that little piece of paper, or she smelled that tree and she solved the murder. It's kind of that bullshit. So if you can get over that, then you will like the series. But yes, book 5 comes out next month, or this month, December, and I will be reviewing that one for my ARC review. All right. Next. The next book I do not have, but it is Finlay, Donovan, Knocks 'Em Dead by Emily, nope, L. By L. Cosimo. Okay, Finlay, Donovan, Knocks 'Em Dead. I read this book because I'm not really into cozy mysteries. I like true crime. Like, I watch documentaries and the ID channel, and I like true crime. And so it's really hard for me to separate cozy mystery where it's like, hello, that's unrealistic because all the cops have to do is ABC. It's hard for me to do that, but I have to do that when I read these books. And so I only chose these books because I got this book from a library book sale. I have a whole series where I go to library book sales and library bookstores where I try to find myself a good bargain. I challenge myself to only spend like 20 bucks to see how many books I can come away with. This one was one of them, $6. I'll get to that book in a second. But book 2 is that's not her name. Book 2 is Finlay, Donovan Knocks Him Dead. And in the whole series, let me just go into it. The whole series is about Finlay Donovan, who is she's a true crime fiction writer, but she is recently divorced. Her husband has left her for a more attractive woman. He left her and her 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and she is barely keeping it together. Barely. She's trying to meet a deadline. Her books aren't selling that well. Her editor is like, come on home, girl, I need that manuscript, let's go. And she's just like, I gotta get my kid to preschool, I'm poor, I can't pay my bills, my ex-husband pay bills. Like, she's a hot mess. And she stumbles ass backwards into this murder for hire thing. So she's talking to her editor in like Denny's or something, and she's talking about her book and how, you know, she can't figure out how to murder this person and blah blah blah. And someone overhears her and thinks that she is a murder for hire person, and they hire her to murder their husband. And she kind of gets involved in that world, and it's quite humorous the way it happens. So Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead, I gave a 4. No, I didn't. Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead. It's written on here, folks. Look. It says it right there. I still can't get it together. Finlay Donovan Knocks Him Dead, I gave a 3.75. But let me talk about both of them at the same time, since it's the same author. So this is Finlay Donovan is Killing It. This is book 1. I gave this one a 4, and I gave book 2 a 3.75. I like this series because I like that Finlay Donovan is like, okay, I'm about to say relatable. She's not relatable to me. I ain't got no kids. I ain't got no ex-husband. However, I feel like a lot of women can relate to her in general as just being harried. You have family members who are always trying to hook you up with a man because they feel like you need to be married to be successful. You have responsibilities, and you just can't find the time to do it, whether it be your job and it's hard for you to make your deadlines and all this other stuff. So I feel like her life is relatable to a lot of people, not just women, but she's a woman. Finlay is funny. My favorite character is her nanny, Vero. Vero is hilarious. She's great. She's my favorite character. And so Vero is her nanny, and she's kind of moved in. She's kind of become part of the family, and I like their friendship a lot. They're a great duo. Her husband, her ex-husband, is a piece of shit, and I love it. He's horrible. I love it. I just like the way that she like sees her life and how she eventually deals with it now that she has Vero to help her. Her kids can be quite interesting at times. Like, it's just fun. It's a fun read. I recommend this series. I don't know if I'm going to keep going. Book 2 was just a little, I don't know. I just didn't have as much fun in book 2 as I had in book 1. But maybe I'll continue the series. But I do recommend this series if you like cozy mysteries. I recommend it. It's pretty good. Next, Furysong by Rosaria Munda. This is book 3 in the Arulian cycle. Something like that. It's book 3 in the Dragon series, the Fireborn series. Okay, so I gave this book a 4, and this is the final book where all the things have come together. Okay, so let me go back. This is a fantasy series. This is YA. Damn it, I forgot to say. Finlay Donovan is adult. This series is about dragons, because you probably can't really see it, but there's a dragon on the cover right there. There he is. This series is about Lee, who was this is going to be hard, 30-second overview. Lee was the son of a ruling class, dragon riders. They were overthrown by the revolution. He got out and he went into hiding in an orphanage, concealing his identity. He meets Annie, whose family was burned up by the dragon riders, and they become friends, but she doesn't know who he is. They grow up and they join the military, which is the world has been remade by the revolution, the people who led the revolution. And one of the things that they established was a dragon military, and Annie and Lee are basically the captain of the guards. And well, they're trying to be. They want Lee to be, but Annie's is just as capable, but she's a little insecure. But meanwhile, Lee's other family members also escaped the revolution, and they're like, hey, we're over here in this other country. I need you to come over and help us take everything down. And he's kind of conflicted. And him and Annie kind of love each other. This is a really good series. It's Fireborn. I don't have the book, but it's a very good series. It's one of those YA fantasy books that no one's reading, but it's a really good series. It's more character driven, and I do highly recommend the series. This one I gave a 4. First of all, it's a little too long. The pacing was a little bonkers. There were like 50 pages or so where I was like, homegirl Munda, I need you to pick up the pace. This book is slow AF. I need you to go. So it dragged a little bit in the middle, and that affected my rating. But overall, it's a good series. And let me tell you, out of 10 fantasy series that I start, I probably finish 2. So I actually finished the series. Highly recommend it. Next, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have a series where I try to guess the baddie in a murder mystery, and I did a whole vlog where I tried to guess the baddie. And you can go and watch that video here on YouTube. But this is about a couple who is getting married, and they are having their wedding on an island in Ireland. And they've invited some friends, and somebody dies and somebody kills them. So if in Lucy Foley fashion, if you have not read a Lucy Foley book, it's a little similar to some of Agatha Christie's books, where there is a group of people isolated. Someone has died and one of them has killed them, and you kind of have to figure out which one it is. So in this one, we have the bride, the plus one, the best man, the wedding planner, and the bridesmaid. All of them have a secret. All of them have a secret. All of them have a motive. Only one is the murderer. I gave this a 4. Not as well as the Paris Apartment. I like that one better, but this was better than the Hunting Party. What I like about this one, and actually what I like about many of Lucy Foley's books, is that her characters are very relatable. They're either you or someone that you know. It's people who are incredibly insecure, and they have friends who are sick of that incredibly insecure friend. There are people who are trying to keep up with everyone else, the Joneses, and they are liars, and they are schemers, and they have secrets. And like, I enjoy her character development because it's always someone that you know, or it is you. And you are just like, oh God, I hate that person. This person reminds me of Trina. Oh, she get on my damn nerves. I'm gonna give Trina this book and see if she can see if she thinks, see if she realizes that she's the main character. It's that. So I love that. I like the mystery. I always like the pacing. I like how Lucy Foley executes her stories, where we go back and forth. So we're at the end and then we're at the beginning, and she kind of goes back and forth until we meet in the middle, and then everything is revealed. So I like the execution of her books. Lucy Apartment, I keep calling it the Lucy Apartment. The Paris Apartment does not do that, but I can understand why she kind of deviated from, because this was getting a little formulaic. She did this in the Hunting Party too. So yeah, but some people, Lucy Foley is a hit or miss. I like her writing style. I think people don't like it because it's a little slow paced, but she does kind of focus a little bit more on character development than like high shenanigans. So if you like a little more character development in your murder mystery, and this is the type of murder mystery where she gives you all the clues, you got to pay attention and you can solve it. And I love it. Love it, love it, love it. I recommend it. All right, the last book that I read in November was, and the best, because I've been going in order of least to best, is Greywaren by Maggie Stiefvater. This is YA, and this is the third book in the Dreamer trilogy. Okay. If you are not familiar with the Dreamer trilogy, the first part of it is The Raven Boys. It is a quad. It is 4 books in the series. If you have not read The Raven Boys, you need to. It's fantastic. And this series is about Ronan, and Ronan is one of the Raven Boys from the original series. Ronan is a dreamer. I feel like I should not say what that means. This book is paranormal, by the way. Ronan has a special talent. And his talent has been foretold to be the cause of the end of the world. And so there are people who have been tasked with killing dreamers, because the dreamers, there are a lot of dreamers out there, and one of them is going to cause Armageddon. But these people, the ones who have been tasked to kill them, they don't know which one it is, so they're trying to kill all of them. And so they're trying to get Rowan. His name's not Rowan, it's Ronan. They're trying to get Ronan, and he's running away from them with the help of other dreamers. That's all I'm gonna say because it's spoilery. Okay, so I gave this book a 4. I really wanted to give it a higher rating because I gave the first 2 in the series like 4.5, so I rated them really, really high. However, I'm not shocked because the last book in the Raven cycle, I hated it. I gave it a 4, but it was a pity 4. So her last book in the series tend to not be my favorite. Her first book tends to be my favorite because Stiefvater has a huge imagination. If you like fantasy or paranormal and you're sick of reading the same bullshit, you need to read a Stiefvater book because she has a fantastic brain and she is a beautiful writer. Like, you will read some of the sentences in her books and you're just like, oh, I need to get that on a t-shirt right now. She's just a wonderful writer. She's one of the best YA writers out there right now. I personally think she writes for adults who read YA because her books tend to be a little bit more cerebral, and I don't know if teens could stick with it because it's really, really slow. It's not plot driven, it's character driven, incredibly character driven. So this one was as well. My issue with this book is that the ending kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm like, what? Oh, God. Oh, that was my issue. That ending came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it, and not in a good way. What I did like is that you get more from Niall and Aurora, which is Ronan's parents. You get a lot more backstory with them, which I loved. That was great. And then there was another character from book 2. Once again, I'm not going to say. He was the main character in book 2. He's in book 3. And I feel like all that time we spent with that person in book 2 was pointless in book 3. I don't understand what his point was. He was great in book 2. Or she. I'm not going to say which one it was. But what was their point in book 3? I don't know. It was pointless. It was pointless. Urgh. So, yeah, I had to give it a 4. I wanted to give it higher because I love Maggie Stiefvater, but there were a couple things I just could not get past. Okay, that was all of the books that I read in November. I read 10. I'm on track to read 10 in December. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. I'm going to try. I'm on vacation in a couple weeks, so I can get in some books. However, I haven't done this in a long time, but people seem to like wrap-ups, and I agree because you get like quick fire review of books, and it's not long. So with that being said, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next wrap-up. Bye-bye.